like,
I
yeah.
hear what a thick layer is like.
So it's like a thick pupil
I'd take you to
layer or
my
something
room
like
and
that?
show you.
Oh,
I don't
God.
Welcome to
Yeah,
the
no,
F
I'll
Movie
show you.
Podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Camacho, and today we've got No Country for Old Men on the docket. Better late than never. With me today talking about this movie, we have Nathan. Thanks, Nathan. We also got Bryce in here.
Present.
And Mason.
Hello.
Not sponsored by IGA.
Nope.
So,
Don't ask about him.
don't ask that. We're not going to talk about it. So like I said, we're talking about No Country for Old Men. Hopefully we sound great. We're trying a new microphone, so I'm trying all the layers of my volume right around here. Let's see how room volume sounds. Nathan, give us a summary. Talk about No Country for Old Men with us, buddy.
Okay, well, there's this movie I would say is kind of Tarantino-esque. There's like multiple.
Easy
It's got
killer.
it's got multiple
Easy.
stories,
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
like
that's it.
riding along and meeting with each other at different points. But for the most part, all these stories do kind of play into each other. You've got seemingly the main character, and it is just this guy who's out one morning hunting deer, walking his way back, and stumbles upon a shootout over drugs.
That had already happened.
Yeah.
This is the
that
past
had already happened. Like but it had just very recently happened, and this guy seems to be a lot more clever than you would think to begin with, because he immediately is like, all right, who is the last person who made it out of this? I need to track them down. He finds them like under the shade of a tree, much further away.
a random Mexican guy, which is
He
important
is
later.
much more clever than he lets on, or than you first think, until he's not, which happens later.
Yeah. So it's Josh Brolin's character, whose name I'm not going to remember, but I remember
Nope,
him as
me
Josh
neither.
Brolin.
It's Laura Lee or Laurel.
You don't remember it
It's
either.
It's awful.
Yeah,
It's
it's a terrible name that like
It
a
is.
traditional old Southern name
I'm
would just.
look it up. You go
Yeah.
ahead.
But in any case, he finds this briefcase full of $2 million, and immediately takes it. He's also like taken a Uzi, it looks
Yep.
like, and a pistol from the scene. Makes his way back home, hides it underneath his trailer, and then like it's just like, okay, I don't know, it's kind of a weird moment because he doesn't seem to acknowledge that anything's happened, and then that night he's laying in bed, wakes up, and is like, all right, and then he goes back to where the shootout was in the middle of the night because there was this old Mexican guy that was dying, and I guess he felt bad, wanted to go back with some water to give the guy water because the guy was begging him for water earlier that day whenever he was trying to ask him where the last man standing had left to. So at that point, cue some other people showing up, finding him, shooting at him getting shot, flowing down a
Running
river.
away, yeah.
Yeah. And then it kind of turns into John Wick there. He kills a dog. Don't worry about that. We're not talking about that in the movie. But yeah, so that's kind of the presentation we're kind of giving at the beginning of the movie, that, all right, so Josh Brolin's character is the movie character we're supposed to be following. While it's doing it, it kind of flashes in and out. It gives us James Earl Jones, who's just a sheriff.
Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones, yes.
Sorry,
Yeah, James Earl Jones is definitely somebody different. But
he's the guy who does Mufasa.
yeah, James Earl Jones is that one. Earl Jones. So
Okay.
Tommy Lee Jones, TLJ. He's a sheriff introduced on this one. He has a small plot. Whatever. Don't worry about him. He's actually the main character, but you don't find that out till later. And then we get the Mexican guy played by Javier Bardem, and he's just sweet. He just goes around killing people. Whatever. You don't need to know more about that until he starts killing
The
people that
ultimate
are
villain.
important. Yeah.
Yeah, I like how, too, the sheriff never makes the connection. This, the killer character has this weapon that he's using most of the time, which is this little compressed air thing that shoots out a little piston.
Mhm.
He uses it to break into buildings. He uses it to kill people without leaving a bullet. At one point, the sheriff is talking to this young girl about how they kill cows and mentions this exact means of doing that, but never seems to make the connection that might be what the guy's been using. Not that it matters that much, but I
Yeah.
just thought that was kind of interesting that he just walks right around something that actually would kind of connect some pieces for him in the story.
Mm-hmm. And I do think, just to kind of wrap up the summary on that. Yeah, so we have these are essentially the storylines that we're following. We're following Josh Brolin, and we're following Javier Bardem, following Josh Brolin, and we're following the sheriff, following Javier Bardem, following Josh Brolin.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like a lot, but it's really not.
No, yeah. Most of the movie focuses on Josh Brolin's character and gives us, by the time it wraps up into the end, will start to show us that it's a false protagonist, which is a narrative term for just sitting here and saying, haha, that's not actually the main character. He dies off screen.
See, I think a movie we previously reviewed, Snatch, did.
Yeah.
I think it did this. I think it did it better, and I think it made it. It was almost more complicated than this because.
I think it was more complicated for
Oh,
sure.
Yeah, there was,
which
there was much more storyline.
But I
with
still
this.
feel like it was still like done better than like in this movie because it was like just a very linear story. Like as Dylan just described, like it's this guy chasing this guy chasing this guy. That's it. Snatch had like this guy's doing this, these people are doing this, this and this and this, and then like it almost seems like skits that kind of connect at the end and has that like amazing scene where they that runs over that one guy and then
We're not here to talk about Snatch. Whatever. Check out our
I'm
Snatch
making the
review,
comparison saying like I liked how that movie did the same kind of
Sure.
structure but
Right.
better.
I would
in my
definitely-
opinion.
I would agree, and just kind of getting, obviously we're past the summary, we're just getting into what we like and dislike about it now.
Yes.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those films that has a good idea in mind, but the execution definitely had a lot to be desired. You can tell they tried to have this direction where they were going to incorporate multiple character storylines and do a very, we say Tarantino-esque style like storytelling, not so much going back and forth because Tarantino also does multiple storylines, goes back in time, goes forward in time, goes back. This is linear throughout with characters that are lined up in a way that it should be kind of lined up until they start to kind of creep up on each other. But yeah, so I mean, obviously, I think we just get into like the good chunk of the end where we sit there and we get the reveal that Josh Brolin's character just gets killed by Mexicans at a hotel off screen, and then the movie kind of carries on from Tommy Lee Jones' perspective for most of it. There's a quick commercial break where Javier Bardem kills Josh Brolin's wife, and then and he's like, "All right, well I'm out."
You
Gets in
don't
a
know
car wreck,
Yeah.
and then he's out again.
You don't know if he kills his wife.
No, he does.
He
He
definitely.
100% does.
He checks his shoe afterwards, looking
Yeah.
like for like the blood that usually
Yeah.
comes
Think
out.
so?
Yeah.
No, wait,
yeah,
the first time I
he
watched it, I
100%
took
did.
it like he actually let her live because he let the guy at the supermarket live too.
Yeah, but she
had too much, I guess.
refused.
Yeah,
well,
Yeah,
she
she didn't
refused
wanna
to
play
the
the
game.
game.
She was like pretty much just
And the
killing
guy's
him at
like
that point.
a textbook psychopath. Like,
Yeah.
he's
If-
not gonna like that.
So if there had been a turnaround at the end, because I think as you watch that part and you see Josh Brolin's character dead, and then it kind of keeps on going, you kind of keep thinking, when's he gonna pop back up? When's the plot? Like, when's it gonna Dark Knight us? Where it shows, the commissioner's not been dead this whole time, and then he catches the Joker. We don't get that payoff. So when you're watching with the wife the entire time, thinking, when's the trap gonna spring? And then he just walks on out, and I'm like, she's dead.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it does.
Because it lends that kind of lends it like one thing I did like a lot about the movie is that it kept its real world tone
Mhm.
the entire time. Like with that, you're like, there's not going to be a savior. He's not going to change. He's just
Right.
going to kill her. Just like how Josh Brolin died. Like he did all this careful maneuvering, and all the movies focus on him like trying to get away and stuff. And the way that he dies is like his mother-in-law talking to a random person,
Mhm.
saying where Josh Brolin's going to be, and like he has the money and stuff, and like he has no idea that happens. He has no idea, and he just happens, and that's how it would happen in
Yeah,
real life. It'd
yeah.
just be that one little slip up that would cause that to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this movie is like you said, it's very grounded. It's a lot like Hell or High Water, where it's based in a very probably aged town. Well, this
Yeah, it
is
happens
an
in the
older
70s.
decade, anyways.
70s.
Yeah. So it happens in this
Well,
period of time.
I feel like it keeps a similar kind of story of like the Western,
It's still that
the
modern
death
Western
of a
take.
Western.
Yeah.
Like the traditional Western is dead because the world is just too harsh and crazy.
Yeah.
Kind
The
of
world's
thing.
evolved away from the whatever the Western world that was, which is honestly, as I'm looking at the ending, whenever I watched the ending and I walked away like, oh no, that ending sucks.
Are we doing this now?
No, so I'm not gonna. Well, so
It's like I'm ready.
there's still a lot more
Right.
to chew on to this movie. I don't mean to dismiss the rest of the movie talk with this one, but as I kind of like sat there and digested it for a minute, and I still don't like love it, but kind of even hearing in the last scene where Tommy Lee Jones is going on about the story about his dad, and metaphorically speaking, essentially just beating around the bush, saying, yeah, like I'm retiring out of the game because the world's just gotten too dark, and then the title is No Country for Old Men because it is essentially like,
Yeah.
well, the time of gentlemen and good times and good people is gone, and this is that.
Yeah.
So
Which is what that conversation with that old guy was all about.
yeah, right. So kind of giving that tie-in on that, like that as the official ending part of that, like I don't mind that because I think it does tie the movie together with it, but I do think the execution for how the ending was done not great.
Oh, we ready? All right. I'm going off of that because I had
Alright.
a lot to say when I watched it. Okay.
Yeah.
First of all, the first thought I had of right when it did that was The Last of Us, which I would hope everybody here has played at this point. I bet you haven't.
I've watched it play through.
And you
Okay,
just play through
but
it.
like the ending of that, like the ending of The Last of Us just hits you right in the face. Not going to spoil it, of course, but basically it hits you right in the face, and you're like, I can't believe this is how it ends. And then afterward, you think about it for a little bit, and you're like, I actually kind of like that. Like it kind of leaves kind of ambiguous. It keeps the tone of the movie. It makes sense. But then when I got done watching this, I was irate, and I kept thinking about it. I was like, I'm still angry. This is not how like I want this to end. I need some kind of resolution, like, or at least leave it ambiguous in a way that makes sense. But this, like, it doesn't connect with any of our characters because I personally didn't care about the old man at all. Like, the only thing he really had to go off of was like, I'm this old country guy who like you should sympathize with because I'm the old ways, and like that's all he had in this character.
Yeah, you just kind of want to say "okay, boomer" throughout the whole this part. You're just like,
Oh, we're dating this podcast.
yeah, timestamps. You know when this is relevant now because
See
of
what's
that
trending
reference.
on Twitter and
Yep.
when that happened.
Yeah. Oh god, that's been out for a minute.
And then I did some more research into it, like research. I went on the internet and was looking more into it, and then I found out that it was the Coen brothers that did this movie, and that a lot of these like big actors were like, I wanted to do this because it's a Coen brothers movie, because it's the Coen brothers, and like they're amazing. They're Coen brothers, and this also coincides with the release of Death Stranding, which I recently played. It just makes me think
Man,
of that
really dating this.
that Hideo Kojima thing, where like just because it's this big name that gets behind this doesn't mean they can do these just off the wall choices that just don't make any sense and do it in the name of artistic freedom. I don't like that.
So we're not here to talk about Hideo Kojima or Death Stranding, but
I was making the comparison.
I know you just love making that one.
No,
so,
and I'm done. I've talked.
right.
Anyway.
But so, and I won't fight you on that because I do think that this is one of those movies where I'm like, it's like Coen Brothers at the end, and I'm like, I know that they're a big name, I just don't care for the stuff they do. So like going into that, I remember that we even talked about that previously before watching the movie. We're like, oh yeah, it's a Coen Brothers film, and I was like,
Really?
yeah, I think
Oh.
Mason or somebody mentioned it. I know.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
IMDb king over here.
Right, yeah. So somebody had mentioned it was a
Oh,
Coen
Brother
Brothers
Art
film.
Thou. That's the only movie I know.
They
about
did that
them.
too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously the superior film.
Yeah,
This one.
100%. I'll give them that. But yeah, so Oh Brother is great. But then we kind of look at some of the other ones, and they're more modern releases from like I guess this movie onward, because this movie came out in like 07 or
07.
yeah,
Close.
it was an 07 movie. So it's
What else do
older.
they make that's like more recent?
Check their IMDb, Mason. So,
Michelle.
but yeah, listen, Coen Brothers has some great stuff, and I just think that the execution on this just wasn't the best. And we've gotten this kind of story before, and I think it's just we've seen it better in different forms, whether Snatch or Tarantino or Guy Ritchie with any of these films. You know, it's just been delivered in a certain way, and I get it that it's that poetic ending. It's that ending where you're not going to be happy either way. Because let's be honest, if we look at it from one side, if they gave us a very cookie cutter, Josh Brolin wins in the end and he walks away with the money, then it just feels like there are plenty of people who are going to be like, oh, start to finish, this is just one of those movies you just say it's beat for beat. So why,
Yeah.
like, what's special about this? They do this way, and then they got to try to do something experimental and new, or not really new, but different, and then you're going to rub people the wrong way. They're like, oh, well, that's stupid. It rubbed it on that one. But yeah, I'm still not 100% on how if I really dislike it, but I know I don't like it. So that's all I'll say on that part. But I will say that here's the thing: the first
Take it.
Caesar, get out, your podcast. So
He's chewing on a bone, if that's what you all are wondering. Is that rattling under the table?
yeah, which is hard because the first 75% of this movie is super engaging. Like there are plenty of moments that are just sweet. All of Harvey L. Bardem's scenes, I like totally am locked in. I'm like, is he gonna kill him? Is he not gonna kill him? The one where he's at the gas station, him following, and they get into the hotel little brawl. Just even whenever Josh Brolin's character is waiting for him and he knows he's coming,
Mhm.
and then you hear the and the doorknob thing hits him, and you're just like, oh god, I feel that one, and
Yeah.
that's just so harsh on that. Like that whole little sequence is sweet. Man, this movie is just so solid and engaging for that first two parts of it that it's hard for me to like just hate it entirely on the ending. But we'll see where I land on my score by the time we get to it.
Right, somebody else talk.
Yeah, so I think the whole flow of the movie, that's the producer list. The whole flow of the movie I thought was really good. It's a cat and mouse movie, and you obviously had Josh Brolin's character, which was a pretty good hunter from, you know, the way that he held himself up, following, you know, the Mexican cartel, knowing where they were. The dumbest part of this movie, though, was that he never took the money out of the actual satchel that was
Yeah.
you know,
They had a
it's
track
to begin
of-
with, and I always thought that was really dumb
Yeah,
because
I
he
don't
brought
know
it
why
into the
he didn't.
trailer, and his wife at the time was like, "Well, what's that?" And he's like, "It's $2 million. What do you think it is?" You know, just messing with her, and he kept it in that thing even to the very, very end, pretty much. I think, like even when he got caught up with it, but he was as smart as a tack and like. Or sharp as a tack, rather.
Mhm.
And I don't know.
Now, at times he was smart as a
He
tack.
was- yeah, there was a couple moments. But, and then Javier Bardem or whatever, his character was... Okay, so there was this poll taken. It was about a month ago, before I even knew that we were going to pick this movie, of which villain,
I've seen Scarface are the bigger ones.
aside from animated or like Marvel movies, villains of any film, who was the worst villain? And they had all of these
Wait,
different,
worse as you mean like most evil?
like evilest,
Oh, okay.
you know, most, you know, satanic,
I get what
I
you're
guess. Anyways, and this dude actually won because
Huh. Mhm.
he was just so, like you said, psychopathic and just I don't know,
Killing for the pleasure of
just
it, not for any
flipping
other
a
reason.
coin,
Yeah.
and the result of that would be the end of someone.
But
you
not
know?
doing it in a stupid way like Two-Face or whatever in Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Heads you live, tails you die.
Like, Javier Bardem definitely felt like the best version of what Two-Face could have been.
Yeah.
Like,
Because he was more like, I
Yeah.
don't really care what happens. This coin is actually going to decide. I just don't care. Two-Face is like,
yeah.
Yeah.
like,
But he's also
Stupid.
All right, I'm not gonna go into the comic book.
Yeah.
version. Yeah, we could do that all day, and I'm not going to. But
But yeah, I think both of these guys were really smart. Tommy Lee Jones, yeah, I'm with you. The best part that he brought to the table was like those instances where he was chasing the guy and he had like the little deputy with him and like they went into that trailer and the milk was still cold on the coffee table. You know, like all these
Yeah.
little tiny
Yeah.
tracking ideas, and it's just like, all right, so he's had some experience with it. I mean, he brings
everybody's
a little
just
bit
a
to the
hunter in this
table.
movie. it
Yeah,
feels like,
Yeah.
you know?
You have to be, I
Deputy was
guess.
pretty entertaining too.
Yeah. I liked
I
him
mean,
both.
deputies
I did too.
usually are a bit of a comic relief.
Yeah.
He was a pretty good one though.
He was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was, I don't know, so I liked the flow of it, I think, and then that part when he get hit with that, you know,
The
lock
doorknob or the
mechanism,
lock part on it. Yeah.
from that part for the next 20 minutes was really solid because he was just chasing him through the street.
Yeah.
Like, he got into that truck at that one point and he was like, I need to go this place, and then he just gets shot. Yeah,
Mhm.
so good. I enjoyed the flow of it. But that's all I'm going to say before the fat thin are
Right.
perfectly fit.
Well, I just think the villain in the story is Javier Bardem.
Yeah.
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 He had so many good monologues and like the whole scene, that whole convenience store scene where he's just like, this coin has traveled from this year all the way to this moment.
Caesar.
Like this coin has been waiting for this to happen, kind of thing. Like that was such a cool little thing that he did there. And then at the end, whenever he's like, don't put that in your pocket.
Yeah.
That's your lucky coin.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You
But then,
better
like-
keep it safe.
Yeah.
It'll just
But
be a
then
regular.
as he's walking out the door, he's like, but it is just a coin.
Yeah, that's definitely a huge highlight for me. Like all of his monologues and all of his, pretty much every scene he's in is solid, really start to finish with that. I will say that the one thing that grabs me but then ungrabs me pretty quickly was just like, even from the very beginning, like everybody's just poor, like not caring at all for leaving fingerprints on weapons. They're just like, oh, let me just touch everything.
This was the
let me do-"
70s.
Right, and then I remember it's in the 70s, but like
Yeah.
at my first go, it's just like, oh my god, what are you doing? You're just leaving forensic evidence everywhere. Like,
I was listening to John Mulaney, and he has a bit about how like back in the old days, like you could just get away with murder.
Yeah.
Like there's a pool of this, like there's a bucket of this guy's blood here. Like that's gross. Throw it away.
like nobody at the time knew what to do with all that. They're like, we can never find this guy.
Yeah.
And phone bills were just told you exactly who they called and where they were.
That like as soon as I saw that he was like Javier was looking at that phone list, I was like, oh, it's awful that used to happen. Like,
Right.
that
was actually a thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
it's like, here's everyone that you've called.
it does really paint a picture on how like just Ex Machina perfect the 70s was for being a killer. You're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
man, things were just a better time back then. They just let you do it. They couldn't find you. Everything told you where to get them. Like,
Yeah.
it's a killer's dream. I'm glad we're in the year that we're in now.
Mm.
You can definitely not figure that out by the references in this video.
Yeah.
But yeah, any other thoughts before we get into
Not
body
2014, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
It's definitely not that year.
We good to move on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, turning on to the next segment, we go into fat, fit, or perfectly thick. Wait,
You-
darn it, I always do it. Perfectly thick is a good description. Fat, thin, or perfectly fit. This segment talks about roughly is the runtime match the movie. Is it too much? Does it go on for too long? Is it not maybe long enough? Or is the movie just right? Obviously, the fat and the thin and perfectly fit. Mason, start us off from that side of the table, buddy.
I'm gonna say this movie was very, very, very fit. Oddly enough, I think I'm sitting here trying to think of anything that I would cut. I don't think I would. I think you get thrown into this movie as soon as he is looking down his rifle, at some kind of elk or deer, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I don't know. From that point on, I mean, there are some lulls, but I think you're gonna have that with a Western or a modern day Western. I don't know. And for it to be a Western, you don't have to like them.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to enjoy this movie. And for the most part, the flow of it. The end, I'll jump on board with you. I think it's a realistic ending.
Mhm.
It's not an ending that, we asked for.
It's not a movie.
Yeah.
It's not an ending you want to see in a movie. That's the problem. with it.
Yeah. And
Right.
I don't know. I think in the 70s that happened.
All the time.
Yeah. I mean,
It's a
I don't-
killer's dream.
I think if I'm nitpicking, I don't think he gets T-boned by a random truck and gets away. I think he just gets away.
Yeah.
But, I guess to add a little more suspense and maybe you think he might get caught and then
I think it was that, and it was maybe to make you think like that was somebody catching him.
that was the sheriff guy. or
I
something.
also-
That's the twist.
I also feel like it's a little bit just to say like life is random
Yeah.
and shit happens.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's true.
Even to crazy psychopaths, like
That
you
have
could
it all
just
figured
happen
out.
to get hit by a car.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to say very, very fit.
Okay. Dylan, you want to take this? Sure, buddy. So, yeah, I would say it's Western fit, but it's just a little bit chubby. So, and the parts I immediately think about are Woody Harrelson in this movie.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
I enjoyed him.
Listen,
Even though he didn't do a damn thing.
I enjoy him, but it's not that I didn't enjoy him, but if I'm cutting, if I'm like, this movie runs 2 hours, well, I could cut it to 1:45 and we get more runtime. Dylan, what do you cut? Woody Harrelson.
Yeah.
Woody Harrelson and whoever the executive is that he's hiring him and that's actually supposed to be a ringleader. I don't care about the masterminds of this. I'm here to watch Mexicans killing, and then one Mexican, and then one white man, and then one other white man. And I don't need any more characters. But like in the middle, about 2/3 of the movie, they just kept putting people in, and I'm like, why is Woody Harrelson talking to this guy?
And Woody Harrelson knows who he is. too.
Yeah, Woody
And,
Harrelson.
It's talked to him. Plenty, I
Yeah,
think.
he's like, oh yeah. We
Part of
have
the same network.
long track history. Yeah, and it makes you kind of think there's like this deep
it
undertone.
paints the picture of like some kind of professional that might be able to stop him, like this possible redemption, this character that's like supposed to be the guy that comes in and fixes the problem that is Javier.
Right.
So I kind of like his existence because it gives you that false like sense of security, especially whenever like he does finally meet our false protagonist,
Right.
and it seems like things could be okay, like they could work together.
Oh, it's
And,
gonna be a buddy cop movie
yeah,
now. Yeah.
it's like Javier's gonna get it, like the bad guy's gonna lose.
Yeah.
It's
he
all
didn't bring
just-
anything, yeah.
It's all just to make you think that's gonna happen, and then it doesn't get there.
See, and I think that's why, while it serves the narrative, I don't think it serves the tone. Because if we're looking at the grounded, it's very. That's what I think really hooks you in this movie, which is another thing that we'll talk about with your movie next week. I'm not giving any spoilers for that. Stay tuned.
Hey.
Is the rivalry piece here? Is that it feels like Javier and Josh Brolin's character, and it's just the back and forth, and you feel like although Javier is chasing him in person, like you feel like Josh Brolin's character is trying to catch him in skill. Like obviously Javier is the much more efficient killer, but then like Brolin's thinking and trying to figure out how do I actually get this.
Getting into the mind of a psycho.
Right. So by adding the Woody Harrelson factor into it, it just felt like an extra storyline that put that rivalry further apart. And it's just like, oh gosh, yeah, Javier is just a machine, and there's like no way he's going to catch up. And then he doesn't. But I feel like it. I don't know. I think even as we get to the ending where Brolin dies, it feels more served not taking that distraction with Woody Harrelson's character with it. And again, I enjoyed those scenes. I think Woody Harrelson is very entertaining.
Yeah.
The little scene with him and Javier at the end where they're sitting there talking and he goes to the phone call, like I actually really, really liked that scene thinking back on it. But again, I liked all the scenes that Javier Bardem was in, so it's hard for me to take that away. But yeah, it's a little fat. If I'm going back, I'm just cutting that little chubby part right there. Price.
I'm going fat too, and I would agree with you on cutting the whole like executive Woody Harrelson thing completely out of the movie. But I would honestly go so far as to like, I didn't care for the old cop.
Take the sheriff out.
Yeah, I thought the sheriff
Batteries
wasn't
on red.
really needed. I don't know what he's
The
whispering.
battery's on red.
Oh, okay.
Anyways,
I
Just keep on
I don't know. I just didn't really enjoy his character. He just felt cliched. He felt like I've seen his character before. I know exactly what he's gonna do. Like if you just put his face like on the screen for like 2 seconds, be like, oh, I know exactly what he's about, and then like he'd come back at the end and
Yeah.
like do that. But
so essentially, it's a
I'm cutting that
Castaway situation where you only need the first couple minutes of him. You
yeah,
can skip the whole movie and then watch the last
Exactly.
10 minutes, and you know what he's done.
like I only wanted to see the Josh Brolin and Javier
Yeah.
whatever dynamic.
That
That's,
was-
that's what I enjoyed the most.
That was the title fight.
was them two. Yeah.
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 So definitely fat for me.
Nathan.
I could see it as fat. I would almost wonder what you guys would think if the movie had ended very shortly after
Berlin.
Brolin dying,
Yeah.
and then maybe had a post credits of Vadim showing up at the wife's house and
Just rapping with the wife.
yeah.
I think I actually really like that.
I like-
almost more.
I like that because it says that he's still searching. Like he's
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
looking for who has the money.
I say if you
He's still
do
doing
that though, you just cut Tommy Lee Jones's character entirely from it. You don't even do the false like protagonist point from it. I think you just keep it as Brolin, Bardem, and then just run their storyline through. But again, that's the part that I enjoyed the most. But that's far from the point, which is what the whole thing is about.
Well,
So
yeah. I mean, it's like it's supposed to be a piece about the idea of the old Western ways dying.
right.
So a lot of it does serve that. But if you just dispense with that and go like, let's just have a good cat and mouse movie
Mhm.
where the cat wins, then you could have done it like that. I
Yeah.
think. And it would have it would have like had the shock factor and everything too, because you don't expect
The Mexican crew just to kill him off the bat. Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I know for me, I think I'd like the movie better that way because while the Tommy Lee Jones part takes it deeper, it doesn't necessarily make me like the movie anymore for it though.
Yeah.
Well, I still think like the conversations and stuff that he's having. Like I think having like you need to have a cop actually in this.
Yeah, it feels silly to not have a cop when there's
Yeah.
so many killings
Like,
going on
there
in this
needs to be
movie.
a cop, and he needs to be
That
playing
is a
a
good
role.
point.
in this.
Yeah.
It
You
can't
can't
just be
not
like.
have-
No, that's the 70s. They just didn't have cops when
Yeah.
people were getting murdered.
No, they're in Monty Python too.
Oh, gosh. We're not here to talk about Monty Python on the blinking red
I will
battery.
flip this table.
We're going to take a quick commercial break while that battery is blinking. Make sure to hold on to your butts, everybody. Stay tuned.
It's about to get rowdy.
Don't worry, Price. You'll edit this in the future. Thanks, buddy.
Probably won't.
You probably won't. You probably
This will
won't.
give him his first challenge as editor in chief.
Well, you two are like as good as messaging Caesar in the Snapchat group.
Welcome back to our show!
He's a shooter, though.
I agree.
I don't know about that. Me and Nathan pretty much have the same exact style. So
Mm,
That's why I'm
Identical.
going with
Yeah.
Caesar.
yeah.
anyway,
The resemblance is uncanny.
we're guys. Let's get into our scores for this movie. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. Mason, lead the way, buddy.
I'm gonna give this movie a 7.5. This movie, like I said, it's very good. If you're wanting a western,
He was doing baseball signs at you for some reason.
What was that?
That was like- Holy Mother Mary.
Yeah.
Anyways,
That's the religious.
if you're
guy.
wanting a western
Oh.
movie to watch Hell or High Water. It's
Yep.
a few years newer. It's better than this.
Mhm.
It doesn't leave you as, I don't know,
You get the full on.
set.
You
at
get
the
all
end.
of your food in this movie.
It's so
That movie.
good. Yeah, it's a lot like this movie, but it gets more to the point.
Yeah.
I give it a
Mhm.
7.5. It's pretty good.
Press.
I was going to give this movie a 5, which again is not terrible. I have to clarify that every time with
Here
them.
we go.
Oh
Five-
boy.
5 is just like it's a movie. It's a movie.
Going
Like
down.
I don't feel anything about it. That's how I felt the whole time. Was like it's a movie. I don't really feel that much to it. But then the ending happened, and I got mad. So
There we go.
I've already
Starts at a 5.
I've already said my piece on it, so I'm going to a 4. On it.
Oh. Just kill it, Price. Just
What-
kill it.
Whatever you all think. Again, it's just a little bit like below what I think. Like, it's a movie. Like, I just didn't really like it that much. I didn't
Price here to
hate it.
confirm. This is actually not a movie.
No.
I didn't hate it. I didn't like it. I just kind of disliked it. So that's it.
Nathan.
I found this movie to be pretty good.
Yeah.
I probably trying to think like comparatively to some other ones. I'd probably land at about an 8. And I enjoyed it quite a bit. Everything with Javier was incredible. I don't know. I guess maybe I just don't take the whole movie into account. Like, I'm going to remember all the cool stuff.
Exactly.
And that's the things that I'm like going like, yeah, I like this movie because this stuff was nice. I'm not gonna hold the ending to it.
I respect you
that
kind of just
badly.
holding on to the moments that you take from it.
Yeah. You're not gonna remember the dialogue between the wife and Josh Brolin. You're not.
He's gonna take her back and screw her. That's a good dialogue right
That
there.
was fun.
yeah.
I enjoyed that.
That's
line.
Texas 70s. Mason's a married man, everybody.
Yeah.
But
That
hey,
was like Jesus. All right. But yeah.
So 8, Nathan.
Yep,
8.
that's what I'll give it.
All right. I'm gonna be right with Mason on this one. To nobody's surprise, I'm at a 7.5 with it. Nathan makes some strong points. All of Javier Bardem's scenes are exactly on point. They're pretty excellent. Josh Brolin's pretty good throughout the whole movie too. I'm pretty engaged on his parts. Just him going in buying clothes. And just, you got socks? Yeah, I got socks. You like white? It's all I wear.
He goes in, how's those boots treat you?
Yeah,
That's like the only
that's
thing
the only
he
thing
has
he's
on.
got. Yeah, just like Brolin's delivery in these scenes, and it's just such casual, like everyday Texan dialogue.
Yeah.
Like, but it lands.
I think
perfectly.
he might have lived there for years.
Right, yeah,
The way
like,
he delivers.
It's perfect. It's right where it needs to be. The movie's ending and wrap up in the last 30 minutes of it kind of loses me, barring Bardem scenes. But yeah, overall it's a good movie that just doesn't finish out where I really wanted it to. So 7.5. It made it almost all the way there, but clocked out.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yep. But anyway, that's our show, guys. So next week you can tune in for the fastest movie of all time,
Rush.
Rush.
Rush. It's a Formula One movie back in the 70s.
Who's it star?
Chris Hemsworth and Daniel Bruhl.
Yeah, Daniel Bruhl, also
Yeah.
known as Baron Zemo in Marvel, or Thor. And,
Oh, he is in that, isn't he?
Yeah,
He's in Inglourious Bastards. That's what I knew him from.
yeah. Bruhl's in a couple movies. Bruhl's really sweet.
He's bigger now than he was
Yeah.
6 years ago.
For
But,
sure.
yeah, Ron Howard directed it, so we'll be talking about that next week.
Yep. Be sure to tune in next week for that one, guys. Until then, where can they catch you, everybody?
Same place. Same
My
time.
house.
Right here.
Hey, there you go, guys. You can catch me on Twitter and Instagram at Look at the Other Videos and check the last part of that part.
Yeah.
So I'll see you
There you
guys. See you next week.
Bye.